Hi, this is Rob Yates, and this is the video for Algebra 1, classwork number 2, which you should know is page 12. Sorry about my G there. Numbers 14 through 16 and 19 and 20. So, let's look at page 12 and at number 14. Our first instructions are to evaluate each expression if r equals -3, s equals 4, and t equals 12. So let's write that down. R equals -3, s equals 4, and t equals 7. All right. A says r squared plus the square root of s. So, for what we're inputting, that would be -3 squared plus the square root of 4. What is -3 times -3? We have to do that first. Remember your order of operations. A negative times a negative is a positive. -3 times -3 is 9, plus the square root of 4. What two numbers multiplied together that are the same equal 4? Well, that would be 2, wouldn't it? 2 times 2 is 4. 9 plus 2 equals 11. That's our first answer. Let's try B. B says t minus r over s. So, for our purposes, that would be 7 minus, remember, our r is -3, so we're minusing a negative there, over 4, which is our s. What are we doing when we subtract a negative? When we have two negative signs together like that, it means plus. 7 plus 3, that's 10. 10 divided by 4, oh, that's about what? 2.5? 2 1/2. Let's try C. C says 2s squared plus r minus t. We're going to plug in these numbers up here. So that would be 2 times 4 squared plus -3 minus 7. Remember your order of operations. Exponents first. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus -3 minus 7. -3 minus 7. Well, -3 minus 7 would be -10. But maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit. Let's do our multiplication here first. 2 times 16, 32, minus 10. What does that equal? I know you can figure it out. I'm going to let you do that. How about D? D is 3 times the parenthetical expression s minus t squared. If we plug in our numbers, that means it would be 3 times 4 minus 7 squared. We have to do what's inside our parentheses. 4 minus 7 is what? That's right. Next we have to do our exponents. Negative 3 times negative 3 is what? And what is 3 times 9? That's what I thought. You can figure that one out. Now let's take a look at 15. 15 is a little wordy. And it says finding and using a pattern in an important problem-solving skill, is an important problem-solving skill you will use in algebra. The patterns and diamond problems will be used later in the course to solve other types of algebraic problems. Look for a pattern in the first 3 diamonds below. For the 4th diamond, explain how you could find the missing numbers if you know the 2 numbers. So let's write these out so you can see them. Hopefully you have your book, but if not, the first diamond's got a 10 up here, a 7 down here, a 5 over here, and a 2. The next one it's got a 6, a 2, a 3, and a 5. The third one has got a 4 up here, a negative 1, a negative 4, and a negative 5 down here. And what it wants us to do, the 4th diamond, is it wants to know how we can tell what goes up top or what goes down in the bottom if we know this number and this number. Let's take a look at these. We have a 5 and a 2 here. What if 5 and 2, what can you do to them that would make a top number 10? Or for that matter, a bottom number 7. How about the next one? I have a 2 and a 3. 2 and 3 do what to make a 6? Over here, I have a negative 1 and a negative 4. And there's a 4 up top. What do they do, mathematically, that makes them positive 4? Have you got it? Let's take a look at the diamond problems we're supposed to do. It says copy these onto your paper and then use the pattern you discovered to solve them. A has a 2 and a 5. Have you figured out what the 2 numbers do to get the top number? If you look up here, a 5 and a 2 is the same really as a 2 and a 5 when they come to 10. What is 5 times 2? Or for that matter, 2 times 5. Now look at these 2 numbers again. What if I added 5 and 2? What number do I get? That's right, 7. So our pattern is this. The left times the right is the top. The left plus the right equals the bottom. Negative 1 plus negative 4 is negative 5. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. All right, let's take a look at our next here. This one has a -2 and a -1 in the left and right sides. -2 times -1 is +2. -2 plus -1, that's right. They've changed it up a little for C. They gave us the top number and the bottom number, but not the left and right. What two numbers multiplied together equal 8 and added together equals 6? I'm going to let you figure that out. D is also a little tricky. It gives us the top number and one of the numbers from the sides. Well, that's pretty easy. 4 divided by 1/2 will equal this number, because this number times 1/2 equals 4. So what is 4 divided by 0.5? Figure that out. That goes in the left, and those two added together go in the bottom. E gives us the top number, and it gives us the bottom number. What's interesting here is that whatever these two add up to is a negative number, but whatever they multiply to is a positive number. The only way that can be true is if these are both negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive, but when you're adding two negatives, you still keep a negative number. What two numbers multiplied together are 12, but added together are 7? That's what would go in there for 12E. All right, let's take a look at 16. 16 asks what values of x will make each equation below true. And A says x plus 5 equals 5. Well, to figure that out, we just have to solve for x, right? -5 minus 5 makes the 5's go away, and I get x equals 0. It says and if we put that in there, 0 plus 5, it does equal 5. So it's true. Let's try B. B's a little longer. 2x minus 6 equals 3x plus 1 minus x minus 7. Now, all we need to do to solve these is to get our letters on one side and our numbers on another, and then reduce down until we get one letter x equals to one number. Before we do that, we need to combine our like terms, because over here I have two x's and also two numbers. So 2x minus 6, that's fine, but 3x minus x only leaves me 2x. And 1 minus 7 means minus 6, right? Positive 1 minus 7 minus 6. This is looking awfully familiar, but let's go ahead and solve it out. Plus 6 gives me 2x equals 2x, which if I divide by 2, I get x equals x, which means any number or all solutions make that true. I can plug any number in there and it would be true, right? All right, let's take a look at C. (16C) says 3x plus 1 equals 43. We're just going to solve it. Get our numbers on one side, get our letters on another. Reduce down. Subtract 1, subtract 1. Remember, if you need to, just draw a little dividing line there. About your equal sign. Whatever I do to one side is okay as long as I do it to the other side of my equation. Now I have 3x equals 42. And to figure out what x is, I just do the opposite. This says 3 times x, so the opposite of multiplication is division. I divide each side by 3. We always divide by the number in front of our variable because any number divided by itself equals 1x. 42 divided by 3, well, that's 14. How about D? D says 4x minus 1 equals 4x plus 7. I add 1 to each side, and I get 4x equals 4x plus 8. I subtract 4x from each side, and I get 0 equals 8. Is that possible? No. No solution. Our next problem is 19. And they would like us, in 19, to solve each linear equation and check our solution. So A is negative 2x minus 3 equals 3. Same idea. Numbers on one side, letters on another. I'm going to add 3 to each side. That gets rid of that negative 3 over here where my x's are, and I get negative 2x equals 6. Now, I got my letters on one side and my numbers on another, and I just have to get rid of that negative 2 in front of x. To do that, I divide by negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. X equals negative 3. Let's check it out. Negative 2 times negative 3 minus 3 equals 3. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6 because a negative times a negative is a positive. Is 6 minus 3 equal to 3? Sure it is. It works. That's how we check our solutions. We just plug it back in and solve. Here's B. B says 7 plus 2x equals 4x minus 3. Going to do the same thing. Going to try to get my numbers on one side and my letters on another. Let's get rid of the 7. It's a positive 7. I do the opposite. Minus 7. Minus 7. I get 2x equals 4x minus 10. Now I'm going to get these letters over here. Opposite of positive 4x is negative 4x. I subtract 4x from each side. 2x minus 4x is negative 2x. And now it equals negative 10. I divide each side by the number in front of x. And I get x equals 5. Let's see if it works. 7 plus 2 times 5 equals 4 times 5 minus 3. That's 7 plus 2 times 5 is 10. That's 17. 4 times 5 is 20. Minus 3 is 17. It works. Finally, C. 6x minus 10 equals negative 8 plus 3x. Well, I'm going to add 10. And I get 6x equals 2. Negative 8 plus 10 is 2 plus 3x. Now I got to get rid of this 3x, so I go minus 3x. I divide each side by 3. X equals 2/3. If we plug that back in, it does work. 6 times 2 over 3 minus 10 is equal to negative 8 plus 3 times 2 over 3. That's 4. Minus 10 is negative 6. That's 8. That's 2. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 equals negative 6. We have the answer. Number 20. Number 20 asks us to evaluate each expression below for the given values. Negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 for x equals negative 3. So it would be negative 2 times negative 3 squared minus 3 times negative 3 plus 1. Well, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 is plus 9 plus 1. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Which means our final answer would be negative 8. B says let's make x negative 2. And it says 8 minus 3x minus 2 squared. So, to plug in our negative 2, we have 8 it would look like that. Well, we have to do what's in our parentheses first because of PEMDAS, our order of operations. 3 times negative 2, negative 6 minus 2. Negative 6 minus 2. Negative 8 squared. I'll let you figure it out from there. How about C? C says K needs to equal negative 3, and our formula is negative 3 over K plus 2. So that would be negative 3 over negative 3 plus 2, which is negative 3 over negative 1, which is 3. Negative divided by a negative. Finally, D. M equals 1, N equals 2. 15m over n plus 1 minus m squared plus n. If we plug in our numbers, we get 15 times 1 over 2 plus 1 minus 1 squared plus 2. 15 divided by 3 minus 1 plus 2. 5 minus 1 plus 2. I'll let you figure that out. All right, that's our second classwork. Remember, if you have any questions, there's tutors in the library before and after school. Also, your algebra teachers are available after school. Please see them and find out when they're there. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.